So where he's getting this idea that he knows the brand, the grain, the type of the tip, the type of cover, we have no evidence on that. This is supposed to be the guy that's demanding that Candace has all the evidence. All right, let's go to a second clip here. This is going to be just about 40 seconds, give or take. This is Smokeboy making stuff up as he goes. Now, the evidence is so overwhelming, Smokeboy just has to start just firing off at the hip and just making up evidence. He had an opportunity to make up evidence. I mean, he had an opportunity to just go gather evidence. It's supposed to be overwhelming, after all. Now he wants to talk about the bullet itself. This is important because allegedly Charlie Kirk was struck with a projectile that took his life. The nature of that projectile is important, ladies and gentlemen. It matters. It matters. It matters because if it's impossible or if it can't be recreated that projectile stays inside Charlie Kirk's neck yet takes his life, then we have a problem on our hands. Reproducibility is science. Science is reproducibility. So let's hear what Smokeboy has to say about this compelling evidence about the bullet.
There's some steel neck and it's a smaller caliber. You have to make a counter explanation. Why wouldn't a smaller caliber also go through bone?
It could. I didn't say it can't.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so what he's saying there is, I am defending the position. It was a 30-06. Well, let's say it was a 223 round, or let's say it was a 9mm. Let's say it was a 17 caliber. Why couldn't those go through? Irrelevant. And I think she did a great job. I don't care. It has nothing to do with your claim, Smokeboy.
If that's the case, then ammunition is going to be the critical key here. And
thanks for stating the obvious. That's 300,000 well spent, Smokeboy. Yeah, ammunition's key here. Ammunition's key here. You can tell I'm serious about it because my brow is furrowed.
If we have frangible ammunition, which we do in this case.
We don't have frangible ammunition in this case, actually. None of the ammunition that was alleged to have been used is frangible. It's just not true. He's just not being accurate. That's okay. And I understand he might not understand what he's talking about.
A flex tip round. Well, I'm sorry, not a flex tip, a soft point round from a 150 grain Remington core lock. That's just a small jacket that goes around the actual lead piece. This thing could have split apart in air for all we know.
This thing could have split apart in air for all we know. Do you have any evidence that that's ever happened? That a round like this has ever just split apart in air for all we know? This is a thing to you? This is your area of expertise, Smokeboy. You're supposedly the Army sniper. You're supposedly the gun expert. You incorrectly identified that it's frangible round. You've said the shell around the lead is in fact thin. And that for all we know, it's split apart in air. I've been following this case closely. I've been following this case very closely. I've not heard a single gun expert suggest that the ammunition used to take down Charlie Kirk could have split apart in air. Nor have I seen it demonstrated. I've never heard of it happening. In fact, you probably aren't going to find a lot of evidence that it doesn't happen because it's like if I drop quarters and they're going to fall down on the ground, right? I take this deck of cards. It took me like 3 minutes to open. I drop it, it hits the ground. Probably not going to find a lot of evidence that if I drop it, it goes to the ceiling. Because it doesn't go to the ceiling. It doesn't go to the ceiling. That's not what happens with ammunition like this. It doesn't just break apart in midair, for all we know. Not his finest moment, ladies and gentlemen. Smokeboy is scrambling. That's the moment when I heard him say that, I thought, all right, it's over. It's just over. Just over. We do have a little fact check on this, but I'm going to let it play for another 10 seconds or so.
But definitely upon impact, and we have the medical examiner who confirms this in a summary, and my team can bring that up, the summarization, which means he would have to be a part of some kind of conspiracy as well.
Okay. You're talking about the medical examiner who's married to a furry? That medical examiner? That has now gotten out of town and taken a promotion, that he's now the director at another facility or another county? That medical examiner you're talking about? That he might have been in. Okay. Well, I'm not here to talk about the medical examiner. We do have a little bit of fact check though. We have no evidence that anything he just said is true. We have evidence that what he said is not true. Actually, here is the summary. ATF revealed the bullet that killed Mr. Kirk was a .30 caliber class round. It created a complex entrance gunshot wound and fragmented in Mr. Kirk's neck. There's no evidence that the round that struck Kirk was the brand or type he described. Not the grain, not the Remington, not the Corlock, nothing. Just a .30 caliber class round. That's all we have in the medical examiner's report or the ATF report. That's it. That's it. And so if you want to make up that it is frangible, certainly you're right. I guess you can make up that it's frangible. Oop, did not mean to hit play. You can make up that it's frangible. That's fine. It was not. And there's no evidence, no discussion whatsoever that there's that is frangible. We also have Agent Falmina that testified that it was one .30 caliber class deformed damaged bullet jacket fragment and 4 lead fragments. Again, nothing about Remington, nothing about lock, tip, core, soft point, nothing. None of that. We have Samantha Carner who testified that no further testing was able to be done to determine the specific round. So where he's getting this idea that he knows the brand, the grain, the type of the tip, the type of cover, we have no evidence on that. This is supposed to be the guy that's demanding that Candace has all the evidence. And this is kind of what happens here. This is the whole nature of this debate. Candace is not allowed to use any hearsay testimony at all. He requires what he calls positive evidence. You have positive evidence that the Israelis killed him? Do you have positive evidence the French Foreign Legion was after you? Do you have positive evidence of that? Do you have positive evidence he was at the steakhouse? Do you have positive evidence of the receipt? But all the evidence he used, he either made up, like what we just saw, just made it up out of whole cloth, or he took the word of the people who were reading statements in court, just hearsay evidence. That's the definition of hearsay evidence. It's an out-of-court statement provided in court for the truth of the matter asserted. He's relying on that hearsay, but he's refusing to accept eyewitness testimony from her. We'll get to that in a minute. I want to go to her closing real quick. I'm gonna go back to some of the other stuff. Let me fast forward to here. We're going to jump forward about an hour. I told you I'm not going to go through every line of this debate. I don't find value in going through every line of the debate. But I want to go through this one because this is a good summary of why we don't believe the Fed slop. It's a nice little summary Candace provides of why we don't believe the Fed slop.
I just doubt the state's theory.
Okay, yeah, I mean, sure.
And those are the things that
I do doubt the state's theory. I also am welcome to say what I think. If you want to move into opinions, if you want to talk about Erika Kirk, if you want to talk about Turning Point USA,
I'd like to talk about all
and
of
get
it.
into it, I'm totally happy to do that. But I just want to say that, I do not feel, because I've said what's important to me is that we exhaust this topic first of our actual debate claims. I do not feel that you sufficiently have argued that the evidence is overwhelming.
In fact, not only has he not argued the evidence is overwhelming, he didn't even try. He conceded defeat before the debate began. He said, I'm not going to show that it's overwhelming. I'm going to just say that I'm convinced. I'm not even going to prove I'm convinced. And then PBD was like, well, that's garbage. Give me a percent. And he's like, I don't know, 4 out of 5, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, something like that. That's not very overwhelming. He didn't even try. He gave up on it because he wasn't there to prove that claim. That's not why he paid her $300,000. He paid her $300,000 to get into the Israel, the France, the Erika Kirk stuff, the Penguin Steakhouse. It was obvious what's been bothering them. It's also interesting what they didn't talk about. They didn't talk about the bald man driving the Dodge Challenger, for example, with 3 passengers. They didn't talk about that. There's a lot of stuff they didn't talk about. They didn't talk about Egyptian jets. There's a lot they didn't talk about.
Candace, question for you.
That
What,
Tyler
But I am
Robinson.
sorry you feel that way.
Candace, one question. What evidence do you need to see for you to say Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk?
That's a great question. So I actually expected in this preliminary hearing, actually, the inverse of what he was saying is true, right? So this is now the time the state is putting on their evidence. That's the purpose of this hearing, right? The state is using hearsay, but they're also putting on their evidence. So I was just expecting some sort of a slam dunk. Like, we got him on camera taking the shot. At least we have him clear on camera. You're telling me this guy drove 13 hours all around. Like, we can definitely show you a picture that it's going to be beyond a reasonable doubt before we even get to the trial. People are going to see and go, oh crap, like it was really Tyler Robinson.
Let me pause it here. I kind of half expected that. Now, I had looked at the evidence list and I did not see, or the witness list, I did not see Tyler Robinson's parents, and it shocked me. I did a show on it. I was a little shocked that they didn't have Tyler Robinson's parents on the witness list, but you know how convincing that would have been to me? I mean, I've said here for 11 and a half months that I think Tyler Robinson didn't do this, and I can't see how he would have. But if you'd had his mom on the stand, and his mom would have said, he told me he did it. Told me he pulled the trigger, killed Charlie Kirk. That's why we helped turn him in. Now, he may have been lying to us. I don't know, but that's what he told me. I mean, I'd have had to walk away and go, well, guys, it's been fun, but I think we're barking up the wrong tree here. I don't think we're right. We're going to have to rethink this. We're going to have to look for a lot better evidence if we're going to say he's a patsy, because he told his mom he did it. He told his dad he did it. Can you imagine dad getting up there? What dad's going to get up there and testify against his son? Yep, that's what he told me. Told me he did it. Told me he killed Charlie Kirk. That's why we arranged with the bishop and a friend of ours who's a former sheriff deputy to get him turned in safely, because we knew he was in grave danger having killed Charlie Kirk. That would have been overwhelming. That's what I'm talking about when I say overwhelming evidence. Not Bigfoot crawling around on the roof. We have clearer pictures of Bigfoot than we do Tyler Robinson. That's a problem for the Fed slop narrative. It's a real problem. And so you want to convince us, show us what you got. Now, apparently, TPUSA is sitting on a mound of evidence that Tyler Robinson did it. They're producing text messages that Charlie Kirk supposedly was terrified of some leftist killing him in Orem, Utah. Well, it would have been good to put that out 11 months ago. It could have helped cut down some of the noise. You guys seem to be so concerned about the damage being done to the right. It seems to me you're in possession of the ability to stop that damage from being done. Instead, we're in trust me, bro category. Trust me, bro. We know more than you do. Well, share it. Share what you know. You have a lot of camera footage you've not released, TPUSA, that might be demonstrable. It might be convincing. It might be overwhelming. Do you have a camera footage that shows the impact before his shirt moves? Because every picture I've seen doesn't. You were recording him on 4K or 8K from like 4 feet away. It's a lot higher quality, probably a higher frame rate, probably a better exposure than some guy on an iPhone 47 feet away from the ninth row. There'd be a good time to show that. I mean, you can even blur it out if you want, so we could see the red at least through the pixels. I mean, they played this game with the appointment. You're just going to have to trust us. We'll show the Daily Mail. Huh? Why is it every time you guys claim to be in possession of something that's just demonstrable, that's just overwhelming, you won't show it? But you'll have Andrew Wilson pay $300,000 to come in and interrogate Candace Owens on who her sources are? That seems a little unbecoming, if we're being honest. And so I think what she's saying here is quite intelligent, that, yeah, there are things that could show us this is pretty overwhelming. You guys have failed to meet that burden. You've genuinely failed to meet that burden. Now, what does Smoke Boy say about it? We've just talked for an hour and a half. We're now exhausting the issue of whether the evidence about Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. This is sort of their closing on that issue. Smoke Boy's going to give a statement here on that issue. Before we move into France and Israel and Tangwich, he's going to tell us what he thinks about it.
For the audience here,
without question.
For you, is there anything that you could see for you to say, yeah, this guy was a patsy?
Of course, I'm going to always follow evidence.
Perfect.
So my whole thing is just this. It's really important to me. I don't mind people being truth seekers and justice searchers, and the internet has helped solve tons of crimes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, right?
What's the problem? You don't mind she's asking questions and being a truth seeker, and you acknowledge the internet's helped solve tons of crimes? Sounds like you're fine with her continuing to ask questions, seek the truth, and try to solve a crime.
However, there's also people who, they not only don't solve crimes, but they just come up with conjecture, and they what's called flooding the zone. You flood the zone with tons and tons of conspiracy-based ideas, and they go nowhere, right? And in fact, they actually take away from legitimate investigation. Now, I'm not even saying anybody here is purposely flooding the zone. That's not even the claim. All I'm saying is that the claims made absent, this is just me not being convinced by the state's evidence. those become claims, and claims have to be defended. Just
So he's fine with not being convinced. That's a win. I mean, that's Candace 1, Smoke Boy 0. It's over. Good night. You guys keep telling us the evidence is overwhelming. You put they're not bringing their best. You put your best up, and his answer is, I don't care if you ask questions. I'm fine with you asking questions. Just don't be too speculative. Don't be too speculative. If you're going to speculate, at least give some evidence. Okay. Got it. Thanks, Smoke Boy, for your permission to continue podcasting on this. We appreciate that, TPUSA. Money well spent, assuming you provided any material support whatsoever to Smoke Boy. And I would argue that hiring him as a debate coach gave him resources sufficient to at least help make this happen.